you're starting from a place where you should never have started from, because this is law. I mean, I appreciate Cheryl Lynn's distinction between the law and HB 477. This is the law now. And so they're negotiating from a position of, well, this is the law, and why do you want this out? When we should be saying, no, we should be saying, why do you want to make these changes? And what compelling reason do you have to do that? And so if there is a task force, if there is a working group, that has to be the premise of the negotiations. You have to start from there. And let me tell you, nothing will happen meaningful in that task force or working group unless you have a very credible referendum process and also working in tandem, a credible effort to move for repeal of this bill in a special session. You have to have that, because they're not going to come and bargain with you unless you have some leverage. It's just the way it works. So, you know, that's what happened. Here's the miscalculation. They thought, and we told them this because I got a call in the morning that this was released, and I had a legislator that we worked with, and he said, this is coming down the pike. I don't agree with it, but they think that this is going to be a 72-hour dust-up in the media, and the media will go away, and the public will go away. And you proved them wrong. Fundamental miscalculation on their part, because they thought that this bill was they thought grandma is all about the media. You know, and that because we're up there every year fighting against the changes, that just the media cares about it. And it's not a statute for the media. The media makes a very small percentage of the grammar requests that are made every year. I think national studies put it at less than 15%. Less than 15% of open records requests are made by the media. The people that use the open records laws are the people, you in this room. And that's why they didn't get that. They really miscalculated. They thought that we would squawk, we would run our editorials, thrashing them, and then we would move on. They did not count on you. They did not count on this massive... So, during the Senate hearing, there was a senator who, after we were all done talking, by the way, both committee hearings, every single public comment was against the bill. There was not a single comment in favor, and it passed unanimously. Well, it passed unanimously out of the House committee, and the Democrats voted against it in the Senate, in the Rules Committee. But in the Rules Committee, the argument that was made was that you don't really understand grandma. You haven't read the statute. This doesn't really create any new private categories of records. And this senator was advising his colleague, one of whom was speaking against it, you really ought to read the statute, because this bill really doesn't make major changes, and he called it hyperbole. So, you know, that's what we're dealing with. And the examples that were used there by the sponsor, Representative Dugal, and then the House committee hearing were things like, well, when we have a constituent that writes to us about a problem and they say that their daughter is having drug addiction problems, or we have a constituent who says, I declared bankruptcy and I want to express an opinion on this bill, that really invades my constituent's privacy to have to release that communication to the press. My response to that is, how many times has the media asked for a record like that? Has that ever happened, number one? And number two, have you looked at the statute? Have you looked at the statute and seen all the provisions in the statute that already provide existing protection for those legitimate privacy interests? Because those provisions are there. That's what I want you to understand tonight as a legal point when you're out there talking about it and they say, oh, well, we need to protect people's privacy. This bill has nothing to do with people's privacy. It has absolutely nothing to do with personal privacy. If they really cared about personal privacy, why did they create an exemption, a wholesale exemption for text messages that they send that concern the conduct of their official duties. That has nothing to do with an individual's personal privacy. And similarly with legislative communications with lobbyists, with constituents, with other legislators, they have created an exemption in this bill for those records if they relate to the performance of their official duties. That doesn't make any sense. That's backwards. Those are the kind of communications that we want to get. It's the private ones, the ones that have no connection to the conduct of the public's business, okay? And another, I mean, I think they used this in a committee hearing as an example. When I text my wife and ask her, what do you want me to pick up on my way home from the legislature? Why should that be a public record? Come on. Is that seriously the level of debate that they are going to engage in to try to justify this law? But it is. This is the level of justification for the law.